So we should start now. Good evening, delegates. Very warm welcome to all the delegates.
Welcome to this series of webinar, 10 webinars by Smart Habitat Foundation. Smart Habitat Foundation is an excellence for art and architecture and for human settlement, initiated by Creative Group and Professor Charanjit Shah. For the last 4 years, we are working on various aspects of art, architecture. We have various debates with students of architecture and teachers of architecture colleges, so that the interface between the practice of architecture and the teaching methodology could be understood. We have various like Indo-Russian conclave, and it's like a global debates by global architects and also allied professionals like PMC, project management consultants, construction management consultants, financial management consultants, quality management consultants, structural engineers, MEP, architecture, plus art and sculpture put together. We have the Vice President, Mr. Dr. R.S. Sodhi, Gurpreet Shah. We have advisory in terms of more than 400 professionals, including various more than 200 head of the departments of School of Architecture, plus practicing architects, then the green consultants, structural engineers, MEP consultants. All the eminent personalities are participating in giving the advice in terms of creating green Indian sustainable architecture, and these are the glimpse of the various workshops we study. We teach the students for about 15 days in-house, and then they do the publication. So all these things are being done at Smart Habitat Foundation with the help of all my colleagues, architects, friends, and other professionals. Now we clubbed with the SOCAM James. You see Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, Mr. Hiranandani, Mr. Menon, all are now clubbed together, including the support of ASHRAE, ISHRAE, even FSAI, and all those allied bodies are also coming forward, and we are having a joint platform and now created these 10 webinar discussion on various elements of building industry in terms of creating that sort of an understanding, so that we have the interface between all of them together. These are some of the publications we have made for publication for evolution of steel. We have also done on smart city planning, and that is all what we do. And now we hope for a very large platform with SOCAM and Smart Habitat Foundation to take it further. Thank you very much.
Dear delegates, we have a wonderful panel once again with you. So as you all know that Smart Habitat Foundation and SOCM GEM Council are jointly conducting this webinar series, and this is the topic of today is building immunity post COVID-19 using services and building management system. Friends, I would like to share with you that this is the webinar series we are doing since May, and we are getting wonderful response for this webinar series. The only reason of this is that the topics are so designed that it covers building architecture, it covers building engineering side also, and today we are talking about building immunity. And we have, as always, we have wonderful panel with us, which includes architect Charanjit Shah, Mr. Rajneesh Agrawal, Dr. Soumendra Shankar, Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, architect Amit Khullar, Mr. Sandeep Goyal, Mr. Sanjeev Sehgal, and Mr. Shailendra Sharma, and architect Mukul Goyalji with us. So I will not take much of your time. I will just share that we got 1200 plus registrations for this webinar once again, and our last experience was wonderful. Today, I'm hopeful that we'll touch 7 to 800 delegates attending this webinar on this wonderful Friday evening. So now I would request Professor Charanjit Shah Sahab to give a brief insight of what Smart Habitat Foundation and SOCHM are doing jointly. Professor Charanjit Shah Sahab.
Thank you, Neeraj ji. Good evening, namaskar to all, and मैं सबका स्वागत करता हूँ इस आई वुड से चौथी वेबिनार में, और कोविड ने हमें बहुत कुछ सिखाया है और उसके बीच में हम आगे चल रहे हैं। और एक बहुत अच्छी है कि यहाँ पे क्या है, यूनिटी स्ट्रेंथ। तो अब हमारी यूनिटी इतनी बढ़ रही है अपनी प्रोफेशन में कि सारे लोग इकट्ठे होके और हम इसको आगे लेके जा रहे हैं। Today's topic is I think very brilliantly chosen, and it has been now put into a shape by my friend Rajneesh Agarwal ji. I welcome Rajneesh ji. You have really done wonder in creating the of the topic as building immunity post COVID. That is what we need to see, how the immunity has to be increased within the build form, and correctly said by you and my other panelist, I would say Mr. Pankaj Dhadkar, who is the leader for or shaping of, I would say, architecture and building industry of tomorrow. That is what, and thank you very much, Pankaj ji, and I appreciate your all the times. And Mr. Sandeep Goyal ji, a very expert into the MEP, this thing, and also into various organizations like FSAI and ISHRE, whatnot, and I really adore you and admire you always whenever we meet together. Dr. S.S. Ray, he is a brilliant academician and a practitioner from Odisha, Bhubaneswar. Maybe he's a global flavor, but I really appreciate his endeavor all the times, everywhere, wherever we meet together. And probably my youngest second generation architect, though he's gone gray hair, now white hair, Amit Khullar, whom I really adore as my son, and he's really into a lot of sustainable architecture as well. We have diversified people. I appreciate my Sandeep Sehgal ji and Shailendra Sharma ji, two people who are the hardcore industrialists who are into the various manufacturing units and who really give us the headway towards making our city as our country as make in India and made in India. Perhaps that is the type of flavor we have. To start with, I just want to express upon with my friends that we lost two of the eminent architects just about a week back. One is architect Pradeep Sachdev, who has been a pioneer, and another architect Chamanlal Ji Agarwal, the chief architect of DDA. So I'll just request to show slides. This is like the legends. The Pradeep Sachdev has been a trendsetter in creating urban spaces. And can you go next, please? And he is the one who's created many things in the urban form in terms of Daily Hut, in terms of a Garden of Five Senses, and now recently he was involved into reshaping the complete city space and the public spaces in Chandni Chowk. So he is the one, we really lost him. He was very authoritative, directional, and he was so productive in giving a new shape of new generation of architecture. And perhaps he has made his, I think existence felt. He would always be there in his works all the time, and we'll see him in live. That is what an architect is all about. His vision, whatever his creation has been there, it will stay with us for another 100 or 200 odd years, and we'll keep on learning from his experiences. Next. So this is what I'll just Delhi Hut, and you can see Pritampura again creating all those transformation. Some of his works in now Shahjahanabad, Chandni Chowk, all he's been his vision and very yes. And now I will just give you some brief about my friend Chamanlal Agarwal, whom really I adore. And he started his career, yes, next please, the Delhi Development Authority, and started with various projects when the DDA actually was born. And for 30 odd years he was there, and he was the one who created Past Southern and many other projects like Nehru Place and other buildings. Please show the slides so that we can actually pay the homage through his works. This is Vikas Southern, he designed. Next please. And again, this is Vikas Southern Development Headquarters, DDA. Next. And these are the self-finance housing project in east of Kailash. Again, we've created double height terraces, volumes, other spaces, which are very interesting and which are really very, sustainable as well. Next. So, because we thought that we give 2 minutes silence, but it's better to show this. All of us, really wanted to show the projects. This is what he did. And next, please. Next, this is a district center, Nehru Place design. Next, I think this is the biggest contribution to any of the architecture or the engineering fraternity when we see his works and we appreciate those works. So this is, we give condolence and let the departed soul rest in peace, and they are in the lap of the Guru all the time. So this is homage we wish to give these two departed souls. Now I think are you, Neeraj, are you showing that video on Sandeep or Pradeep Sajdev ji? Or no?
Yes, Harinder, please start.
Yeah, can you? Yes, please. That will be good. Just another 1 minute of video of Sandeep, Pradeep Sajdev, because he is actually he's put his soul into the project, So really a person whom all the profession adore. Yes, I think his work will speak, and it's like a history, you know. Thank you very much for all of you to have now known Pradeep Sachdev, who are not practically knowing him earlier. Now, I think, can you put the slides on for the subject? We will now talk about building the building immunity in the post COVID-19. So just to keep the tone on, I'm just putting it that what is COVID-19 and how we've been COVID has taught us many good things, you know, and we started looking blue skies, stars, and the PM 2.5 in Delhi has gone even below the normal, and no pollution, living in a beautiful place with you know, because of what, you know, because no industry working, no vehicles on the road, and and I know, I don't know, but perhaps I don't mean that we become nomads and start looking into the nature only and sit into a hutman. But nevertheless, I even do not wish to become a robot. You know, it's like becoming robotic, and we becoming so much of building management and intelligent management and sensors and other things put together. And need to introspect and look back to our great heritage in respect of the resources, the conservation of water, the natural alarming system securities which we used to have earlier, and how those securities were managed by our great kings and kingdoms were created. Perhaps we were quite dynamic, and the way natural lighting, indirect, direct, and were coming into the large palaces and corridors and other things put together, and then the sensing systems, terrains, contours, topography, and all these things were part of the human settlement. Now we look forward for a quick fix solution. We have started manufacturing more systems of distancing, hygiene, filters, sanitization, sprays, then, you know, and then health, fresh air, and mitigations. And perhaps we need to see that the technology is empowering the human race, and we are enslaved by the Western world, and we start imitating the globe, and neglect our variables and practical solutions of our ancient great masters. We have our experts now today in terms of fire, safety, security, surveillance, and automations on one side, and my friends, physical planners, you know, and designers on the other side to create passive architecture. Now, I think with this note, can we just put these slides on in a quickly in a 1-2 minutes? Yes, next please. This is what we were in a simple, you know, humanistic life, sitting under the tree. Then, you know, the air cooler came in 49, 50, 60s, you know, and we used to have air cooler and air cooling system. Next, then the global, next slide, please. And then, you know, the global intervention, we started playing with air conditioners, and, you know, probably there were less of air conditioning. Then, you know, now we are fully centrally air conditioned, everything coming like that. And now with air conditioning, when PM 2.5 raised to 400, we started putting air purifier, and that we thought would be the solution, but that is a mitigation. And now we think that the quality of air is not good, then we are with a cylinder, and perhaps now we are moving with a mask, we are moving with distancing, we are moving with gloves. Is this the future we need to assess today? Next, please. And this is what now today we're talking about, distancing, other things put together. Our whole species are now lost. We do not know how to tackle them. We do not know how to really behave in those public spaces now differently in terms of COVID. Next, please. Next slide. And this is what somebody really, how the saloon will work, how the barber will really cut your hair, and the new way of living, social distancing. Is these the options? These are the setting of our values, or we need to some ways of other understanding where we clean ourselves and be with the nature. Next, please. Next slide. This is what is happening. We know how many deaths are going on. What is our futuristic approach? Are we becoming robotic, or where are we leading to? Next, please. And this is perhaps what I always say is, when we were static, we lived in harmony with nature. Now that we are constantly moving and evolving, we are destroying the nature. Let's see how we protect the nature. With this, I hand over the mic to my friend, the moderator of today's evening, Rajneesh Agarwalji, to carry on the proceedings of today's evening on to the very dynamic topic which has been taken by you, which has been spelled out by you, and that is building immunity post COVID-19. Thank you very much. Hand over to Rajneesh Agarwalji. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the good and bad times. Bad times because the whole world has been put into a reboot, and today we have paused. The nature has paused us, and it has given us an opportunity to relook into the direction in which we are going ahead. And as Professor Shah said, it is scary to look at the funny cartoons which he has put, because on one side they are funny, but at the other side we also see that they are very scary. We did not imagine this world which we are now living in. The buildings which we have built were supposed to be breathing. The buildings that we had built were supposed to be welcoming people, making the living conditions better. What has happened today is the other way. The buildings are supporting the pandemic. People are living in buildings which are becoming hotspots. So without taking much more time, I would now like to welcome Professor S.S. Ray. Professor Saab comes from the land of temples, Odisha. Professor Soumyendu Shankar Ray has applied the design approaches that he has taught for 3 decades. He has been the former Dean of Faculty for Architecture, Biju Patnaik University, Odisha, and now is the Director of the School of Architecture and Planning, KIIT University, where he has consistently championed the contextualization of architecture curriculum. Dr. Ray has nurtured Vastukar, the firm he founded in 1985, and through the decades when the architecture was little known in the region. Vastukar is now one of the largest and most respected firms of architecture, planning and urban design. His work has been featured in many journals, including Architecture Plus Design, Indian Architects and Builders, and the Journal of Indian Institute of Architects. He has won several design competitions, served on various national juries, and lectured in both national and international fora. Odisha, an Architectural Odyssey, is the book that he has co-authored. This is a comprehensive timeline perspective of architectural evolution in the region. Dr. Saab, while we welcome you today in this event, we would like to understand from you that as a practicing architect and also an eminent educationalist, what should we relearn from our ancient architecture? You live in a place which is so full of architecture, so full of natural habitation. When it comes to tackling pandemics like COVID, what should we learn from these things? Also, on the education of architecture, what is the long-term effect that you see? Over to you, Roxab.
Can we have the control?
Ji, Roxab, we can hear you.
Yeah, can we have the control to put 2-3 visuals?
Yeah. Yes, can we give the control to Dr. Saab?
Yeah. Very good evening to all of you. ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, panelists. I first congratulate Smart Habitat Foundation, Professor Charanjit Sir, SOCAM, and GEM Council for conducting this wonderful discussion, building immunity post-COVID. I think this is a wonderful topic. We are all locked down. Thanks for connecting and opening the lock. And this is a topic we are all thinking, discussing, generating, ideating, and it's wonderful to be together and talk. I thank Mr. Agrawal. He asked two questions which is very close to my heart. I have been a teacher. Architecture education has been my primary occupation, and also as he told, I live in a place, Bhubaneswar, which is a temple city and which is a coastal Asian town, and in the what you call in a warm, humid climate of coastal Odisha, and it connects to Asian architecture because we are in the southeast coast. So first question Mr. Agrawalji asked about is how do we build immunity and what are our lessons in the Asian context, in the Indian core states, in the tropical context. You see, when we talk about a vernacular architecture, normally, you see, we confuse vernacular architecture with three, 4 words. So someone talks it as a local architecture, someone talks as a traditional architecture, someone talks about it as a indigenous architecture, people's architecture. There are many words they are associated. So if one wants to understand what is vernacular architecture, so out of many books I referred, the best book is one written on architecture without architects. So normally vernacular architecture is indigenous, related to synonymous to vernacular, and traditional architecture is normally linked with historical buildings, temple buildings, bigger buildings, but people who build for themselves. So what our forefathers taught, our grandfather was teaching, great grandfather were doing, and we learned by hands-on experience. That is a vernacular architecture where we build to live ourselves. So person constructing the structure will be the person using it. You see, if we look into the, these visuals are some tribal settlements of Santal. They are bright, they are colorful, but they are very climate friendly. They are lit, there are courtyard spaces, there are spaces for everybody, there are verandas, and there are wonderful architecture. It's this color and these are natural materials. And when we talk about vernacular architecture, you see, in this post-COVID situation, we have understood that we had certain practices which are very essential for us so far this immunity development is concerned, or if you want to look for a infection-free world. You see, what happened is when we worked from our home, it was a new learning, and we never spent so much of time, and we started operating from home, and suddenly our home had to become an office, and we found that the necessity of green, necessity of sunlight coming to us, necessity of a veranda, necessity of a courtyard. And those of us who stayed in multi-story building, we found how wonderful is the terraces, how wonderful is the balcony, how necessary they are to draw a light and look into how to have a medicinal plant in our court. So these are very wonderful necessities which came, and these are all vernacular architecture teaches us how nicely bring your environment to your footsteps, to your living, how you closely will live. And you know, Mr. Larry Baker, who worked so much on low-cost housing. Larry Baker always worked on local architecture. Now the Prime Minister of India told, be vocal about local. And when Mr. Baker had met Mahatma Gandhi had told that do your buildings, bring materials which are very close and around you. Don't go far. Don't bring your what you call glass from Scandinavia and brick from Malaysia and so on. So being local was a tradition which Mahatma Gandhi always told, and Mr. Baker told. These are the houses which is very linear, and their buildings. They are in tribal Santal houses. They're bright, colorful, but very, very environment friendly. These are some of them similar. And when we talk about what is the use of vernacular relevance in a post-COVID world, you see, we in our villages, we always had a social distancing. In our barandas, we lived in a linear place, and we always had a veranda which worked as a isolation. We had, if we look into our village living things, the buildings are very linear. They are not never grouped together, and that always helped us to live in a very, very social distancing order. And houses were in a sequence. When you transit, you go veranda, rooms are detached, and there is always it is protected from a radiation, and also we get equal sunlight, etc. And this is how our angans, the courtyards, they are all allow interaction with sunlight and open air with stepping into public realm. It's a very wonderful things. Courtyards allow children to play, to live, connect to. And when you come down to connect to the courtyard, you connect to sound and distress. Nowadays, in a modern society, we're all having a trauma. Stress management is a big thing. But if we have a courtyard, we stay connected, but we stay isolated. So these medicinal gardens, we used to have a lot of plants which add a lot of values together. Then how does it connect? These are the wonderful courtyards. How does it connect to modern house which are high dense, and we need to consume a fare and all these challenges? One of the ways is probably we have to cluster the houses, take a vernacular experience into life, and try to bring in them, and so that a group of houses can have a shared green space, so that a cluster of 5-10 houses or 5-10 building blocks can have a green space. If it is not possible to access individually, if one cannot afford it, that could be a wonderful idea to take it in an urban situation, transforming vernacular into this. I live in Bay of Bengal coast. We share a climate which is very similar to, Myanmar, Indonesia, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and so on. Sri Lanka, Geoffrey Baba does wonderful work. Geoffrey Baba says that one should take building as a living entity. Building is never think building is a dead element. If the building, like winter we need clothes, summer we need less of clothes, so the building has to behave differently and allow. And this post-COVID or this architecture will be trying to change. The building has to change to the situation. That is one learning we have to have from vernacular architecture. And these are the wonderful architecture we live around, but unfortunately we get into glass and steel buildings. So this answer my first questions onto this. Next, I would like to go into the education part, how the education situation will change post-COVID. All I teach, I'm having now stress doing BH thesis with online through Zoom, and it's very tough designing architecture with online process. We all experience it, learning it. You see, universities are almost closed down, and but the classrooms are now new rooms for video conferencing, and we are learning the technology of virtual learning. But we must appreciate architecture is a problem-solving discipline. It always loves challenges. And when it has challenges, it deals it well. And in the process, I think in the post-COVID architectural application is concerned, there will be a very shift. Normally we are a aesthetic searching profession. Our main focus is we are always in the pursuit of aesthetics. But I think there will be a great shift. Will take an electric view of the world. Architecture will be much more broader. It will focus on health, hygiene, and so coronavirus is a disruption. It will bring a disruption in the architecture practice, which will create an opportunity to address more needed changes in education and also in societal level. More changes in the society has to come. So one has to review the architecture syllabus, how relevant it is. We are in it. The world is working towards. And you see, our studios are, instead of making some studios, it has to be more multidisciplinary. It has to work on a future which is more resilient, more sustainable, and which is very inclusive. We need to have a world safe. You cannot stay in potteries of discipline. There has to be a multidisciplinary views. There has to be a multidisciplinary approach. I think there will be a thrust will come, and there will be emphasis post-COVID on emergency architecture. That will be a new inclusion or crisis architecture. This is a subject which will, you see, if we look into traditionally we had some subjects like war-related displacement. How do you, support it, and how you design displacement camps, etc. So now we'll be more oriented towards mitigation of diseases and natural incidents. There has to be a reconcept of thinking of home planning, which a student has to be taught, and how existing unused spaces has to be utilized for different purposes. So we have to talk about the adaptive reuse will be a major subject of thinking. There will be more focus on intimate spaces. Quality and comfort of our homes have to change. So there has to be a rethinking on this. There will be more thinking on green areas, gardens, and how do you exploit rooftop. Natural light and ventilation has to be brought in because of the immunity we need to do. How do we use better use of balcony, terraces, and minimal and wholesome indoor environment? So that's a situation that has to come. It will yield to new parameters. There will be focus on health-oriented architecture. I'm sure the new standards, the building standards will definitely have to be revisited through profession, through legislative body. Notions on modular design, because your chair, furniture, distancing, your room interior layouts, we have to talk anthropometrics in a different thing. It's quite an exercise, it's quite a brainstorming exercise. And you see, historically, we know how French Baroque gardens, how Japanese Zen gardens, they allowed us to sort of disperse with isolation, also concentrate. So how to make our garden design has to change. The parks design will have to change. We have to take historical reference, and transportation and mobility things will change. We will slowly love to be because of isolation. We like to we love to walk. The cities will be more cycle and walking cities. Citizen will be encouraged to cycle and walk. There will be new configuration with social distancing measures. I think and this is what I thought will be. I think we need more debate and come up with this. And I think we have to generate different parallel journey. Thank you very much for asking me these questions.
Thank you so much. You have given a big insight that the way we have been living and moving at the speed at which we have been moving in the direction, we'll have to relook into everything. what we have been doing. And of course, sustainability and the natural components will have to be added into our buildings. Now, next panel we have Mr. Pankaj Dharkar. Professor, welcome. Mr. Thakur is the founder president of SHM certification. Mr. Thakur is a renowned MEP and green building consultant. He has provided innovative and sustainable design solutions in the field of building engineering, including HVAC, life safety, fire, electrical, lighting, ELA, plumbing, EMS, and all spheres of building design. Mr. Thakur has, to his credit, more than 4,000 projects which he has designed till date. And currently, he is the National Chairman of Gem Council of SHM, and also he has been the past National President, and before that, the National President of FSAI, Security Association of India, and he has also been the past National President of ISRE. Dr. Sir, welcome on the panel. We have a very simple question for you, which would be likely to ask delegates today. That when we talk of a building which can breathe and live, how do you measure the quality and safety of your buildings that can live in? And do you think that it is possible to have an online measuring tool for this? And can this be complementing our green building certification so that we have some knowledge of how the building is performing?
Thank you, Rajneesh, for that question. It is very dear to me. Basically, let me first thank Charanjit Singh ji for partnering with ASSOCHAM, and I'm really indeed delighted that I'm here. I must tell you that globally, this is the first time that FSAI, which has come up with a Suraksha Index, and this is where we can probably globally for the first time can measure security and safety aspect of any building. So this is very recently launched, where what we have done is we have given equal importance to fire and security, and of course we will and also the IBMS, the Integrated Building Management System, and you can see here like a green building certification, each component of fire and life safety and security have been given its credits. Say for example, adhering to local laws and opting in a fire NOC is a pre-qualification. So unless building is having a NOC, it doesn't start, our process doesn't start. And from there, going on the active part of it, passive part of it, all points have been categorized, and we are covering currently from FSAI, healthcare, hospitality, educational buildings, high-rise building, residential building, and they are categorized under 3 levels. The level 3 being the lowest level, where we are talking about 40 to 60 points, and 61 to 80 points, and 81 to 100 points. And this is something which is a significant move FSAI has done, and globally this is going to be the first system. So we started doing, we have started mapping the buildings. I will take a couple of examples to let you know how we are doing it. So this is a hospital project where we have done the safety analysis, the fire analysis, each and every aspect. So you can see here there are 2 columns where the rated marks are given versus how much score it did. So we are going from all the strategies, how well the plants are being maintained, because having fire and life safety system, the maintenance becomes very important. So even for activities like maintenance, there are credits given. You can see here in terms of if it is rightly planned, a fire control rooms, whether it complies to National Building Code, what kind of fire alarm system it has, whether it is video based fire detection system or analog addressable system. All these points have been credited here. You can see here on the right side in terms of sprinkler system, how well the work is done, because this is the key thing. You can see here how well they have dressed the. So we are not only while doing this assessment, we are also pictoriously expecting them to document this job. So never ever there was a standard where we were documenting the work done at site. So this gives opportunity to engineers to really document. You can see here the number of sprinklers, the fire detectors, what is expected as per National Building Code. My dear friend here, Sandeep, has been part of developing 2016. So we are trying to promote National Building Code also along with this, because each and every aspect of building code is put in here. You can see how neatly the fire pump room has been done. Again, all the points have been rated here. We also deal with evacuation plan. For that, we are expecting that each and every floor, each and every room has an evacuation plan, like you see in any hotel room. This is expected in any kind of building. We are also talking about whether the building is going into a smoke extraction system analysis, stairwell pressurization, fire simulation, visibility analysis, and evacuation modeling. On security part, again, we are taking care of various aspects, including ground sensors, incident reporting procedures, whether the landscaping and selection have any deterrent systems. So all kind of CCTV systems have been captured here, whether we have microwave-based infrared sensors, seismic and acoustic sensors. Do we have electric fencing, whether it is solar-based? So all technology which is available is being reflected here, where we are giving the rating system for it. You can see here on the right side, in terms of analytics of softwares and for surveillance, again, the credits have been given, whether real-time video analytics is being done. So what we have tried to do is picking up from National Building Code for the fire and life safety, and also latest standards globally available on building management system. We are again rating here in terms of what is the credit maximum possible and versus what is available. So we are covering PA system, access control, fire alarm system, video surveillance system, and we are also documenting the quality of work. And you can see here the score. So this building was at level 4. Similarly, we did for a Hilton Hotel, which is again a new project which was recently commissioned. And again, you can see here the level for fire was 30.9 out of 50, 65.9 out of 100. Another commercial complex of 5 lakh square feet, again, these similar systems were adopted. So what we are trying to do is inspire people to go for further in terms of using the fire simulation tools, create temperature, visibility, carbon monoxide studies, creating human evacuation for safe egress, where you can really work out how fast person can come down in event of a fire. We are promoting that asset and reset analysis. Now all these tools are available, which we are inspiring people, wherein you can actually find out from the building, and once architects plan the buildings, how much time you will take for egress. We are also talking about dynamic egress modeling, and we are promoting that such tools be used. So going forward, design fire scenarios, design fires, geometrical analysis, smoke control analysis, detection and suppression system. Thermographic analysis is something which we are promoting, that every project which gets commissioned or post lockdown, people they should do a thermographic analysis. And you can see here in one of the such study, we found that just some terminals were loose and it went up to 159 degree, and moment we tightened it, you can see on the right side the temperature came down to 38. So beautiful pictures can be available where you can do a study of completed site. So we are promoting use of thermographic analysis, and this is what we are saying. This is something which will bring glory. This will create a mission for creating a Surakshit Bharat, and we believe that excellence is a continuous process and it is not by accident. This great man said this, and this is what FSAI is following up. And we are very glad to say that ASSOCHAM GEM is the first rating system. ASSOCHAM is the first rating system wherein FSI index is getting recognized, and we are giving credits. So we want that the buildings which are technically designed right, the green buildings of tomorrow should not only be green in terms of energy, the indoor air quality, the water consumption, but should be also livable, fire and life safety was secured. And tomorrow these buildings can be measured. And this is what a mission which FSI has started. And I'm very glad that ASSOCHAM has agreed to accept this. And this will be a unique system. And I'm sure post-COVID, it will be very important to monitor. So ASSOCHAM GEM is the only system which is 24/7 monitoring the real-time data at our command center, which is located in Delhi. So each and every certified building will be connected and we will be able to monitor it. So any detection signal coming to any of the site, our people will be able to communicate to nearest fire station. So this is an extraordinary service, and I'm sure post-COVID this will gain important moment, because we will collect so much of data, and the data is something which will be very useful to my future generation, because we are currently designing with no data. This generation of mine is not blessed with the building data. We might have designed several green buildings, but we don't have current data. And all research and innovation can happen with right data available. And this is what ASSOCHAM GEM is going to add. And I'm sure this answers your question, Rajesh Bhai. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vernacular. So, this is, I think, a wonderful initiative, and this just became very, this whole movement started at the right time. Especially GEM is now a leading system in India, which are designed for India, and we have done a lot of value addition to this. That we see that even the fire safety and security will be built in, and the performance will be monitored real time, how everything is performing. So, and that takes me to the next very unique personality. Here is Mr. Architect Amit Ji is based out of Delhi and is a consultant. Welcome, Amit Ji. Amit Ji is associated with many councils like Council of Architects, Indian Institute of Architects, Institute of Town Planners, and various educational institutes across the country. Amit Ji, we have almost 500 people, today live with us. They have all gathered here and looking for answer from you. That as a practicing architect, you have been designing a lot of residential, commercial, all kind of projects. And what change do you see in your design approach here after COVID? And what would you like other architects also to look at when they design the building post-COVID?
Thank you, Rajiji. It's nice to be here, sitting amongst professionals, listening to people talk a lot about various other aspects. We heard a fire safety expert. We heard Mr. Das, Dr. Das from Orissa, giving his aspect about this thing. Can I have my screen share, please? Is my screen share up? Hello.
Yes, doing. Yes, doing.
I have to click on the file or whiteboard?
Accept the request, sir.
Just a minute.
Show your screen, please. Just click on show my screen.
Okay,
Click
so
on show my screen.
I can show my screen. Is it visible? Hello, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is blank for now.
I think Amit Ji is trying to reconnect. Maybe can we play the slide from the other end? Can we get the ITT to do it?
Yes. Let me check. So please click on show my slides, show my webcam.
I am getting three options. One is a file, one is
Please,
whiteboard, and one is website. The file, I don't have it here right now.
So, Amit sir,
Okay,
you're using which device? I mean, laptop or
I'm
iPad?
on my iPad.
So you can't be able to share your screen on
I
iPad.
won't be able to. Okay, forget it. So, can we have the normal screen back? So, what we were speaking out here is very interesting to know that how we have evolved. So, we have evolved through, as Dr. Das said, we were having vernacular architecture, a nice veranda, a nice courtyard. Yes, all the aspects of fighting this COVID were already there. In the modern times, when we are designing now, fortunately, we were 30 crore when we achieved independence. Now we are 130 crore. Land is no longer available the way it used to be earlier. Land is a big problem nowadays. So we can't really give that kind of space that people want in COVID series, in public spaces, and everywhere. So we have to innovate. We are in a position where the technology will have to come in. But how does it come in is very important. Now we have an issue like we have something which is called as macro planning and something which is called as micro planning. So when we talk about site planning or macro planning or a city level planning, now what we have seen currently is that in case of any disaster like this time COVID, next time maybe something else, God forbid, next time something else, we will always face this problem of transportation because we have made our country, our cities, everything based on a transport oriented development scheme. The question we need to ask is, has it really worked? Were we able to transport everybody and everything? Look at the kiosks on the borders of Gurgaon. Look at the kiosks on the border of Noida every day. So it is not very simple to talk about just doing development of cities and urban expansion. When we used to do a master plan of a city, everything used to evolve over a ring road. Everything was evolved around, looking at intersections, railway crossings, transport. We have to
Sorry for the
actually now think
interruption.
that can we look
You
at
can
a
start your presentation.
yeah. Okay. So you can just go slide by slide. That's not a problem. Just go to the next slide. I think you're controlling it, or should I control it?
Yeah.
No, the
I have.
control I think will be with the IT. Amiji, you can continue and you
No
can tell
worries.
when to shift.
I think it's okay. It's general. Let's not take too much of time on the presentation part. The fundamental question is that when we talk about macro planning, it is an idea that comes to me every day. Could not we have a situation where every city could at least do 60 to 70% of what it requires within the city? Could we not have a development where Delhi could be sustainable in terms of at least food, agriculture, instead of earmarking more and more space for residential and expansion and carrying? I being an environmental planner, there is a term which is called as carrying capacity of land. Even cities like London stopped growing after a certain period of time because people said enough is enough. When do we say to Delhi enough is enough? When do we say to Mumbai enough is enough? Look at Bangalore. Look at Pune. Look at Pune. When I go to Pune, it is so disheartening to see a town which was a lazy residential retirement home is now the 7th most populated city in the country. Was it meant to be like that? Does everybody has to rush to the urban area? Does everybody has to be accommodated in Delhi? Does Delhi have a limit of growing beyond a certain point? Can we today say that all the area around Delhi, no further development, we do it for agriculture? Can we earmark zones for agriculture? Can we develop ring roads instead of ring roads? Can we develop ring road agriculture? These are ideas which we have to now think. How to make every individual unit sustainable on its own. I'm not saying I will find everything, as I'm very sure I cannot get everything. I'm very sure I cannot find oil, I cannot find so many things for which I'll still be dependent. But can this dependency levels be decreased to a point where they really don't affect too much, at least in terms of disaster? For the first 10 days, everybody wants is shelter and food. Shelter and food are the only two aspects in relation, and the third aspect is health. Everything else is forgotten. Nobody is driving a car, nobody needs petrol, nobody needs telecommunication, nobody needs everything. Yes, telecommunication and phone is very important, and most of it is working nicely. Most of it can be worked out differently. iClouds are there now. The technology is there to do so many things. But can we have these basic roti kapda issue, roti kapda makan jisko hum kehte the, so at least we have the roti and the makan insured. Can we look at now developing our small colonies in such a manner? Any, you know, this is a learning curve for all of us. When I walk 70 days I've been walking in my residential colony, I find so many opportunities here. I could have grown something here. Can all the colonies have a belt where they can put some plants which could be having some medicinal use, or some things like methi, pudina, mirchi, spices? All these can all be added onto those corridors. Those have to come into the landscape narrative. Those have to be very, yes, the aesthetic, the beauty, the everything has to be there, but somehow this thinking has to be changed. As Mahatma Gandhi was saying in the earlier slide, that we should be producing everything within 5 kilometers. FLW was talking about a sustainable city. Everybody has been talking about it, but now it is a wake-up call for all of us to translate that into reality. One thing is a macro planning, where you have to also look at interdispersing everything. Delhi that way is good because you have interdispersed commercial centers. We have talked about planning where the schools are interdispersed. We have talked about hospitals being interdispersed. We have talked about most of the thing interdispersed. Yes, it is nice, but it should be done at a much better level and much achieved at a much better level. So that interdispersion of facilities will help all the citizens to come forward and be at ease. Because I know there is a hospital next to me. I know there is a Safal door next to me. What has kept us alive? It has all the government utilities. The Safal, the milk booth, the hospital, all them, whatever was near us is what has sustained us on the 70 days. So that is the lesson. So we have to do that work-home relationship very, very fine. There is no solution to it. I cannot say, let's do open houses, give lot of space. No, we will still have to do intelligent homes. We will still have to do public systems. Another example, when you talk about now coming to the micro level, what to do with the building? As everybody has said, multi-utility. Yes, if I can do a stadium and ask my MEP consultant, make sure that this air circulation and systems can be maintained in such a manner that tomorrow, in case of an emergency, within a span of a finger or without something doing too much, can I convert it? I came across a brilliant piece of news today that all the legal courts of the country have used their firefighting equipment to disinfect the entire court campus. It's a brilliant idea. Why do I have to take a guy with 3 things hanging his behind and going all around doing push, 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 when my firefighting sprinkler can be easily tested? The firefighting system always has this problem in our country that it has water in it. We can never test it. In the European country, they insert a gas, and the gas can come out to help you check and not spoil your furniture and your paperwork and everything, and you could have an alarm in the middle of the day and everybody runs out. Why can't that gas be a disinfectant also? So, you will have to mix and manage and merge various functions in the buildings. Of course, the whole idea of retina control. We have news like the Changi airport is, Professor Charanjit Shah is here. He knows how the Changi airport is now evolving into a retina base. You just walk in, you don't need your passport. On your retina scan, on your body profile, every data comes onto the screen of the guy. You just keep walking. You're not stopping anywhere. Nobody's stopping you. This is what is required. We can't go back to creating we can't go back to it's a romance. I used to like Zinat Aman during my days. I can't imagine her coming back on screen again. Sorry, she's gone. So I have to live with whatever is there. So the idea is that you have to look in the times we are living. These times have to be based in technology. These times have to be based in practicalities. 130 crore people, out of which 50 crore living in cities, is not a joke. It is not something. 2 crore in Delhi. 2 crore is there in entire Australia. Australia has 40 times the area of Delhi. So we can't compare ourselves with those. We can't compare ourselves with those societies. So we have to think innovatively. Houses, when we come to a small residential unit, what is the requirement now? Now everybody wants a space which is a home office. So we will have to give that adaptability of space where I can easily convert things. My drawing room, my dining room are outdated concepts. The educationist will have to come here and say, why do I provide the most prime location in my residential area to a drawing room where I am never sitting? Why can't I have a more central hall where everything is functionally there and give that space for the entrance lobby? Yes, look at the Japanese. I need to take out my shoes while coming from outside. I need to keep a space for that shoes. The entrance lobbies of all buildings will assume a different aspect altogether. The entrance lobby will become the transition point which the veranda used to do earlier. The veranda will be now part in the entrance lobby where one can sit, one can easily take out his shoe, maybe wear a stocking, maybe not wear a stocking, just go ahead with the rest of the thing and everybody's screened there. Those are transition spaces we need to spend. Now the entrance lobby of a hotel need not look just grand. It has to be very, very functional. Yes, architecturally, I also want to create something which my predecessors have created and be lauded for it. But do I have the space? Do I have that? And then there will be a perpetual, somebody is going to say, sir, you're talking about system advance, you're talking about retina control, you're talking about this. These are expensive stuff. How do we get it? A common man cannot afford it. So for them, I have a story to tell. When I was in my class 10, some of my rich relative got a small watch, which was a Casio watch, which had a small function of a light on one side and a day and date and this thing, and it was costing 1,000 rupees. At that time, this in today's context, it would be something like ₹1,00,000. And the entire country was enamored. कि what a watch, what a watch, what a watch. इसमें light भी जलता है, इसमें date भी दिखता है, इसमें सब कुछ होता है, digital है. तो digital age का वो time था. So that watch was a much sought after thing. In 2 years, I could buy that watch in the street of Chandni Chowk for 25 rupees. So when you create that issue, when you create the locks which are retina control, when you create things like this, competition will automatically induce the things to become cheaper. Yes, for the first few lots, people will have to do a little bit more, but eventually it will go to the general public because the mass market will have to be created. You can't sit. You cannot go to living back in mud plasters, lime and jaggery plasters. You have to do the normal plaster.
So the marriage of
You
the
have to
technology.
look at. Yes,
So
you
the
have to. You
technology
will
has
have to
marry.
manage that.
Yeah. So
One
I
very
think
important
that's
thing is
very.
where.
Yeah. Jeep.
One thing very important we also have to think as a nation is, and also as architects, it is very, very important to look at our workforce. You look at the country today, we are the root cause of the problem. These migrant laborers are our doing. We are the one who have been putting them at the sites and juggies and making them sit there and create castles for us. Has anybody looked at providing some kind of a living structure for them? No. Why? Then Mr. Laurie Baker, somebody mentioned, again, one of the big gurus and somebody we've always looked up to. He also talked about scaling the masons.
Yes.
Can we, because we're getting, Amit, we're getting short of time. So we have another three
Yes,
speakers. So please.
Yes, sir. So the only thing I would like to say, one last thing I would like to say is, we as an industry will also have to start looking at creating this white collar jobs into blue collar jobs. We will have to get the young generation to start working as people executing at site. May it be electrical, may it be mechanical. The consultant will have to create teams where their engineers, their designers can go and execute work at site and not be dependent upon an 8th class guy to do your electrical work. I think that's
So
all.
your
I'll
points
not
are
take
well
much time.
taken. Yeah, I think, sir, especially the point which you said that, the verandas, the transition point where you come in the lobby.
Yes.
Now, taking the things forward, I would now request Mr. Sandeep Goyal. Mr. Sandeep Goyal is a very dear friend and with almost 25 years of his experience and designing MEPA at large scale into all kind of spheres, hospitals, commercial, mixed use. Sandeep has been, very, very wonderful person as far as our building industry is concerned, and he has been very instrumental in bringing the bringing up the new NBC, where the entire fire norms have been, he has been the part of the team which has come out with NBC. Now, Sandeep, with your knowledge of fire and life safety, do you think that COVID has changed the building fire safety in any way, and especially what are the risks that we foresee after the lockdown opens? What should be our checklist when we open up our buildings? Could you just enlighten us on this?
Thank you, Rajneesh ji. I think it's a gathering of passionate speakers as well as people who are passionate to listen to these speakers. I can see good number of 500 people logged in consistently. So obviously the topic is something which we never thought we'll be into one day. And we have evolved, we have learned, we have interacted, and we are trying to still overcome these challenges which we are coming through. I personally feel that there is a lot of knowledge which is available on this subject, but there has to be a practice which has to get into it. So if I can get the control, then I would like to show some of my slides on it, if I get the control kindly.
Yes, you're doing.
So incidentally, you see what is happening is everything is not touch screen, and this is a problem which I think all of us are facing today, that everything is becoming touchless. But you know how wonderful it feels when we are able to commission the system, when we are able to touch the systems, when the feel of the touch of tightening up the screw on a engineering system has its own, gratifying of experience. How you are able to commission the system, how you are able to see, how systems are getting installed, and eventually I think this touchless things are becoming very problematic. As engineers, we have loved always to touch the things, to work around creativity. Architects are having a lot of complaints. They are not able to work on small computers. They need printout drawings. And I think hopefully things should change. While we should learn how to live with COVID, but I think it will not be very difficult to defeat it out and learn better experiences. Primarily, when we discussed about this, Rajneesh ji, about the building immunity, I think the first thing which came to mind was human immunity, and a lot of things have been talked about human immunity. But by and large, if you really look at building immunities, are coming out by engineers, by typical testing and commissioning procedures and standard operating procedures. So you see, we are into a situation where buildings which we have been occupying for many years, we never thought that they're going to get vacant one day suddenly, and they will become completely unoccupied. The systems will come to a grinding halt, and then all the engineers have to get back to put the systems in place. Now, you see, what we were looking at is that if you look at as the unlock 1.0, when we talk about these things are happening, I looked at the fact that what are the different types of occupancies we have. And as I see over here is that, the best tool for engineers is residential buildings, educational buildings. So there are different types of classifications of buildings on which I just tried to give a thought process that how does it go about. So you see, residential buildings are typically occupied, and they are specifically non-occupied in hostels and also in hotels. This is one of the points. Educational buildings definitely are less of a challenge because they do remain unoccupied for 2 months in a year as per our education, policies and systems. Institutional buildings are already occupied. Healthcare buildings are in fact getting a higher pressure of the COVID-19 problems. Assembly and mercantile buildings are major issue and concern. Imagine, as entrepreneurs, as owners, as users, we know what size of offices we work in, and smaller offices, 500 square feet, 1,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet, the kind of time it will take to put those offices back onto track. And imagine there are malls which are 5 lakh square feet, 8 lakh square feet, 10 lakh square feet, the kind of challenge which these needs to be, brought back onto that track. So major concerns are malls, theaters, food courts, air terminals. These would require a very careful start back, and I'm personally, as engineers in design and safety, I'm most worried about kitchens. We leave our homes for 2 months, for 1 month, for a vacation. We come back and we make sure that our kitchens are taken care of before we are leaving. We don't have food waste in the kitchen. Everything is spick and span. so that when we come back, the kitchen is not a deserted place. The lockdown has happened when kitchens have got shut overnight. It was not even thought from tomorrow morning nobody's going to step into those kitchens. Businesses, offices are lower risk, but they are needing obviously careful examination. Industrial buildings, not a problem. Well established SOPs. Storage and hazard buildings. Now, when you talk about these classifications, what comes to our mind? Hotels, malls, theaters, food courts, kitchens. Now, offices are little lesser risk, I would say. Healthcare buildings being occupied are lesser risk. So I designate what you see on the screen, the red zones and the orange zones. The red ones are very serious affairs. And we have to be very, very systematic in ensuring whatever we are trying to do for the red occupancies over here, whether they are in the green zones or they are in the red zones of the COVID, we have to be very, very systematic. And engineers, of course, we take a lot of pride in being systematic. To best of my understanding, we are very well structured, I say, as a fraternity. Electrical systems, I'll take not much of time. Electrical systems, we need a very, very proper recheck. And you asked me that what should be the sequencing, what should be the concerns and alerts. Electrical systems, phase-wise commissioning of panels. Fire alarm systems, we have to be very careful that the fire alarm systems are not taken for granted, because occupancy will come in, and God forbid, if there is an accident, there is a problem, and my PA is not working, it's going to be a big problem. Emergency lights, we take it as a very, very casual matter, but in a dark spent building, emergency lights are the saviors. Fire water volumes and pumps, we have to be careful that sprinklers, hydrant systems, jockey pump run times. Ventilation system, now ventilation system, and Mr. Dharkar, of course, is a veteran on green. Professor Charanjit has been specifically canvassing the aspects of green systems. Building flush out in this scenario is very essential for safety as well as building occupants. Now, this time we are not talking just about building occupants, we are talking about building safety. So ventilation system operations, LPG, how sensitive the whole thing could be. We have seen an accident very recently which has happened in one of the places where there was a gas within the space, and as the people came back and started recommissioning the system, the gas had a blast and there was a problem into one of the projects which we were looking at. Have to be very carefully looked at. Imagine the grease which is there in the drain pipes. Now, these grease are being accumulated, would have got dried, but they are petroleum based, they are potential sources of fire. Sewage treatment plant, the whole sewage treatment plant come to a grinding halt. Tanks, grease traps, everything. HSD storage, domestic water and swimming pool systems. Now, domestic water, people get occupying the building. Now, these are some of the things which I've thought we should talk about. But what I've been seeing worldwide, they are getting into something which is known as remote video inspection. Please understand, today is a time when we have to get onto the buildings faster. We don't have the time to deploy experts in every nook and corner in this time and try to do assessment of the building safety. A remote video inspection is able to provide intelligent people working around, making sure that a pool of people are making an assessment, people on ground are taking right type of video inspections, so that the documentation is poor, a checkbox list is maintained, and we are able to actually ensure that when we are commissioning the system, the remote video inspection becomes a very good tool. And with the kind of IT system now we have in India, and it has been of great pleasure to see how we have been able to sustain without any internet outrages. It has been of great success. So I think this is one of the things. Lastly, the new challenges in COVID is hand sanitizers, touchless doors, access panels, revised seating arrangements, Rajneesh ji, are going to happen. So by having a revised seating arrangement, I was seeing some slides also, we should not compromise egress, because we should not create more spaces. And partition arrangements, as architects are putting their best efforts to bring in the partition systems, it should not so happen that a partition leaves the sprinkler and the detection system not carefully being covered from the spaces which are being partitioned. So having said that, I will close in next 15 seconds, Rajneesh ji. My point is, we have to develop a very, very robust system. FSCI along with SOCM has also came out with guidelines, which we have circulated to our readers, a very, very collaborated checklist. I think if we go around not using our wisdom along with collaborative wisdom of this checklist which has got developed, I'm sure we will be more in safer hands as we go back to our buildings, happily occupying them and being very satisfied that we don't have another risk we are running into. That's from my side, Rajneesh ji.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. I think what is coming out of this beautiful webinar is that architecture and now the engineering and now the next two panelists I have will add the super intelligence to it, which is the artificial intelligence. So having said that, now we are moving towards making a good building which can probably be able to fight a pandemic like COVID. My next guest today is Mr. Sanjeev Sehgal. Sanjeev ji is the driving force behind Sparsh. Sanjeev ji has been known to one and every person who has been involved in security and surveillance industry. He's basically an electronics engineer, and we as a friend call him the Make in India man. Now, while the Prime Minister says Atmanirbhar, I think when our industry of security and surveillance comes, he's the person who's trying very, very hard. He's the guy who made the first CCTV camera in India. He's the person who has been working in the last 80 days non-stop. In fact, I speak to him almost every alternate day and ask him, what new have you come out with? Because he's a man to be seen into action nowadays. He has been working very closely with the CII, Elsina, METI, Niti Aayog, and one reason that FSCI has requested him to become the chairman of Make in India and MSME concept. Sanjeev ji, over to you with a question that how security systems and artificial intelligence can help us fight COVID or similar pandemics. You have to unmute.
Thank you very much, Rajneesh ji, for such a nice introduction. And thank you, FSCI, for giving me an opportunity to work on Make in India. We have been trying to work on Make in India for last so many years, and we believe with this new government initiative coming as Vocal for Local, there are many new notifications and policies are going to come which will help us in making the dream of our Honorable Prime Minister of Make in India a reality. So, can I switch on my presentation? So, Mr. Khullar has given a much stress on using the technology for in post COVID-19 era. So I will just try to, since it is getting too late, I will be little fast in giving my presentation. So why building immunity is required? Since COVID-19 has changed how we live, how we see the life, and how we interact, everything is going to change. Hygiene standards, socializing, community gathering are going to change. So this is going to be a new normal. And so we need to adapt to the new normal. We need to upgrade the buildings to match the expectations, the SOPs. These SOPs has been put by government. These SOPs have to be followed to live after, because Corona is not going to die in a day. So technology is the only solution which we believe, and technology, how we can use the technology optimally at a minimal cost and with the resources which are available is going to be the key. So what is expected from technology in various buildings? So one of the biggest, if we read any SOP which is coming from MHA or any DM or anyone, the first thing is the thermal scanning of the people entering into the building. So the first thing which government is saying is the first thing is to screen out the people by measuring their temperature, and the people who are having the elevated temperatures have to be screened and kept away from the people who are having the normal temperatures. The another thing which is required is to have a contactless attendance system, because entering into any building or any office, attendance is the one of the basic things once the office or any building starts. Then in coming days, right now the visitors are very limited to all these places, but the visitors will have to also come, the businesses have to work, everything has to go on. So we need to have a contactless visitor management systems so that minimum contacts have to be done. Workplace compliances. So there are few sensitive places. There are multiple sensitive places which have to be compliances have to be met, whether the people are keeping the mask on or not, whether the people are using the gloves. All these things have to be, compliances have to be met, and the technology needs to work behind it that these compliances are met. Social distancing compliances, self-declaration for COVID-19, like Arogya Setu app. So Arogya Setu app is one app which is being used for giving the self-declaration, whether you are okay or not, you are giving your inputs. So once you are entering into any building, so you are showing the Arogya Setu app. This is one of the part of the SOPs. But this data is not available for the people who are maintaining these premises. So you need to get this compliances self-declaration of COVID-19 through some other means. Yesterday I went to one of the big corporate house headquarters, and they were using the manual forms. We are talking about contactless, and they were using the they gave me a form to fill up before entering for COVID-19 declaration. So technology can be used and things could be much faster and contactless. In these COVID-19 times, we have found that many people have to work from home. So work from home has been a new flavor of the times. So technology needs to be, so these buildings, the people working in these buildings, few people have to work from home. So attendance, their reporting, how they are working up, everything follow-ups have to be, again, the technology comes into the picture. So how can the technology help? Automatic temperature detection systems in various forms and factors are available, and these need to be implemented at the gates. Right now, the basic thing, if the government is saying in the SOP about the thermal scanning, everyone is using the handheld gun. The most of these handheld temperature sensing devices have been the material which was rejected in China has flooded into the Indian market, and almost all the places these devices are being used to check the temperature, which as per the MHA guidelines is the first screening for the COVID. When these devices are not okay, so how can we screen them? How these can? And the another biggest disadvantage is that the person who is being assigned this duty is the security guard which is standing at the gate. The duty of the security guard is not to check this temperatures. His duty is to look at the safe security of the entrances and other things. And this guy, whom we have been always believing, he can't even do his regular duties of getting the visitor information filled up in the register, and we believe that he will take the temperature and will be able to screen the people who are entering into the premises. Then comes the sanitization. So sanitization is the next part of the SOPs. So there is a requirement, again, everyone entering and using the sanitizers with their hand is again a risk. So we need to have a contactless sanitizers. So again, the technology comes into the scene. Integration of the entrance controls. So there has to be integration with these temperature detection systems and other things. So the contactless mechanism has to be made so that the entrance controls can be done contactlessly. Then in attendance system, again, most of the buildings are using, most of the offices are using biometric finger type attendance systems. So we have to go away with it because we don't want to go into the contact. So we may be needing the face recognition based or anything other like mobile app based
Yes,
attendance
yes,
systems, where
basically.
attendance and the visitor management can be done through OTP, QR codes, or RFID based systems. Visitor management can be again done through the mobile apps, where the pre-fixed visitor appointment can be given and his data is already confirmed by the person who has invited him. So no need to enter the data into the registers, or even at the tablets put in the various some good buildings where the data is being entered through the some intelligent systems of visitor management. Again, the social distancing check with the specialized camera. So the compliances can be checked through artificial intelligence working in these cameras can check whether the people are maintaining the social distances or not. Other compliances can be also checked through artificial intelligence like mask detection, cab detection, hand glove detection, social distancing, queue management, crowd detection. So these kind of analytics have been already introduced in the market, which can be utilized in a standalone systems, or these can work on the existing systems to get the required outputs. As I explained earlier also, Arogya Setu app is for the self-compliance. But if data is required for the employees or the visitors which are coming into your premises, so again, the apps or intelligent systems can be, mobile apps can be utilized for self-declaration of employees and visitors. And even if somebody has been found that he is suffering from the fever or high temperatures, their tracking can be also done with the location with the help of these apps.
So tagging of people can be done. So Sanjeev ji, thoda sa faster mein karna padega.
Pardon?
A little faster, please. We have one more speaker.
Yeah. So again, these technologies which I have talked in the earlier slides can be utilized over the artificial intelligence, can be run over the existing CCTV systems which have been already installed. There are access control systems which are already there. So these fever detection equipment can be integrated with them. So there are few audit softwares are also available where we can run these audit softwares and check whether the compliances are being done or not. So how we can use the use of these technologies to maximum so that we can get the better results. So integration of the various technologies can be the one of the things where we can use the minimal manpower, because the manpower has to be also we can't increase the cost of running of the systems. So predefined policy with tools for faster responses in case of non-compliances, follow-up mechanism for check of health and well-being of employees through these mobile apps. Long-term implementation is to be rigorous because people forget the things very easily. So the technology is the only thing which can keep you reminding about the things that you have to follow, the rules, you have to follow the compliances. So thank you very much. That's all from my side.
Good. Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Now we have been taught कि architecture में क्या changes आएगा. Thakur साहब ने बताया कि how green buildings and better engineered buildings will be helping us. Sandeep ji ने ये भी बता दिया कि fire protection. And now Sanjeev ji has told us how automatic intelligence will help us to detect fever and other things. But there is one critical link which is missing, which is integrating all these technologies together. And I invite my friend Shailendra Sharma ji. Shailendra ji is the managing director of Asbil India Private Limited. Asbil is a Japanese technology leader in this is Yamatake Corporation, which was called earlier. Now it is called Asbil. And he has a vast experience working with Tata Group, Honeywell, and now he is an absolute authority on building automation and building management system. Now I would like to ask you, Shailendra ji, that how building automation or IoT is being elsewhere used in the world to monitor key aspects of a building and keeping the building healthy and kicking. Over to you, Shailendra ji.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Rajesh ji, for the nice introduction that you could give about me. And thank you all the organizers for giving me the opportunity to bring on the technology leverage to design, to complement designs that have been done by our great architects and consultants. We basically, because of the time limitation, I would like to give a small 2-page presentation if possible. Can I have the controls, please? This is just to reiterate all that I want to say. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so continuing on to what I was referring is that yes, building management systems can control and contribute significantly to improve the building immunity post this COVID-19 situation and setting up the new normals as earlier told by one of my co-panelists. The important functions that this BMS can bring onto the table post this situation is, and globally also is being done parallelly in what we are doing in India as well at this moment, is about health monitoring by automation, temperature screening at each point, occupancy sensors and related analytics to the sensors, sanitization channels for the people and the goods movement, and behavioral monitoring by CCTV. So this is in a way where we can monitor the health of the people by using automation. The second point for kind of UV controls, requiring controls, would be the air quality management. And air quality management is a very important feature for any building. The continuous monitoring of the air filter status, controlled sanitization of air, occupancy and air quality data, coordination and analytics is something what VMS can support with. The air pressure control for dedicated areas as per requirement would be the new normal, trying to segregate one area from other area by way of positive and negative pressure controls. Moving on to the smart operation and the maintenance of the new systems of the new building or the existing buildings. The overall system health analytics for the system restart. As we are all going in for a restart of buildings, we need to have the proper health analytics which will be available on a BMS screen, and air filter change management, preventive and corrective maintenances, facility management can all be brought onto one screen. And with this, the improvement for the predictive maintenance by using analytics and artificial intelligence and advanced analytics, we can do this predictive maintenance as well, so that there are no incidents happening once we go into a restart mode. To sum it up, basically, VMS would be the central critical information provider to improve operations by a single dashboard of buildings information and data analysis. This would be user convenience, and the user will be facilitated by the information available on the dashboard. The remote monitoring and management of all operation using cloud services for efficient and specialized operation, wherein the remote monitoring of this BMS screen can be taken to the SMEs or the subject matter experts, and an additional analysis on the building performance can be done by them. And the final point, that maybe it's a very huge widespread point, but however we'd like to sum it up in only one sentence, is the IoT platform for integrated approach of multiple system softwares, giving a complete control in the command room. So that this brings the entire building and into one command room, and a single platform for all information collated for the owner, the facility manager's convenience and faster decision. So basically, this is the point that I was trying to amplify, that the BMS can basically control and bring all such huge data onto one single platform, giving everybody, the owner or the facility manager, a very good control and a dashboard for including data from many systems. So this basically is something what BMS can bring to the table post this situation, and I feel this is going to be the future and going to be very helpful in coming out of this situation.
Thank you, Shailendraji. I think very crisp presentation from you, that how the building controls will be now making the buildings very accountable, and everything will be integrated onto one platform, which will not only record but it also present the data to the building owners in a very concise way. With this, I will hand over the session back to Neeraj. Neerajji, over to you.
So much, Rajnish. Thank you so much, all the speakers. So it was again a wonderful session moderated by you, and all the energy put in by all the speakers. I must share with you that we still have 150 delegates attending this webinar. It shows the how the knowledge we are spreading to these webinar series. I would like to share with you that this is our 14th webinar in this series, and we have a lot many to come. And the charm of this webinar series is increasing day by day. So this is all the efforts put in by entire team of speakers, the moderators, and the design.
I think there is some issue with the sound. Neeraj, we can't hear you. Can I request Professor Shah to kindly sum up the session and also talk about Architect Mukulji and Sunitji.
Thank you, Rajneeshji. And it has been very fantastically done up. And I will now request my friend Mr. Mukul Goyal, Architect Mukul Goyal, who is positively looking into the various deliberations and documenting it, and hopefully after our 12 webinars we'll definitely make a recommendation on various topics and how to take it further. And I have my friend also, Mr. Sumit Paul, who is the editor-in-chief of Architecture Plus Design magazine. He's also covering all aspects into the various medias and social medias and in the print media. First, I'll request Mr. Goyal, Architect Goyal Mukulji, to please come up. Yeah.
Mukul Goyal ji.
Please, Mr. Mukul Goyal ji, can you please sum up?
Sir, please unmute your microphone.
Is
Sorry, I just missed that out. I am very thankful to Architect Chiranjit Shah for allowing me to quickly sum up. I'll take just 60 seconds, not more than that, because there's a lot to be said and we've already heard every speaker, and there were some very impressive points made. And there were one or two points which caught my attention. One was, one speaker mentioned a statement of Dr. Abdul Kalam, that excellence is a continuous process and it is not an accident. And that is what we all care for. In fact, I won't say accident, I'll say we're all here because of a particular incident. And second thing which impressed me was what our moderator, Mr. Rajneesh ji, mentioned, that all of us are right now in a reboot mode. All of us are in a reboot mode. We were stopped from whatever we were doing and now we are restarting. So the most important aspect, because all of us are attached to the construction industry, the most important part is building immunity, because we are the people responsible for the building immunity. And I've classified it into 5 parts after listening to everybody. One, the first part is the engineering inputs. That is how we are going to restart our buildings. That has been very well explained. Second part is the design inputs and design approach. Now, what, as architects, how are we going to change our point of design in looking at the future pandemics and disinfection of our buildings? Third point, which was very well mentioned, was that learnings from vernacular architecture has to be seen with a more serious view. Till now, it was just a small subject in architecture colleges, but today it is now a major issue with regards to professional practice. So this is something we have to revisit. Fourth point is SOPs, and something which really impressed me was the Suraksha Index developed by FSIA, and we are very lucky to have Dharkar Saab here, who explained it very well to us. Fifth point, last point, is the technology part. The technical inputs that now are going to play a very major role in our high capacity buildings. Now, this is something which we cannot avoid. A lot of us architects, let me be very honest, people like me also, we've tried to shy away from technology. We've tried to say, oh, no, 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 you don't require DMS systems. Oh, no, no, you don't require a security system. But today, looking at these current scenario, I think now this has become so important that yes, we need to focus on it. And already we have our experts who've explained why and how it is possible now. So this is a quick sum up of our talk today. These points related to community, I'll be creating a bigger document on it, and then will be circulated by the SMART Foundation.
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Thank you. Great. And I'll just request my friend architect Sunit Paul, the editor general of the very renowned magazine, which has got a circulation of more than 70,000 copies, to just sum up and say his viewpoints and how to take it further on a larger platform.
Thank you, Charanjit ji. Architect Mukul Goyal has summed it up precisely, concisely, and I must say it's been once again a very purposeful session with the distinguished panelists and diversity. I think today was one of those sessions that really brought forth the practicalities of the COVID-19 happening, the lockdown coming. I think just as the government had during when the lockdown came, the government got a little time to think about it, how to take care of healthcare at that particular moment. And now we are in a fairly good position. The healthcare system, we are equipped with masks, etc., and looking at it. But similarly, I think the professionals also, the architects, the engineers, they got this time. The challenge for us, I think, starts now. I mean, we're debating. It's, I think, this kind of a forum, SOCAM and Smart Foundation Habitat, the way they have brought people together, this energy is much needed. Diversification, architectural thoughts, talking about what is relevant, what is going to be relevant, because we always will have to agree that we have to flow with the time, and that is the only way forward. And to flow with the time, I think in this current time, we will really have to give a newer meaning to sustainability and yet be contemporary. I mean, India is a very large country. Vernacular is always going to be there, you know, and 1.3 billion people we have to cater to also. So these are issues, I think, the challenges that are going to come forward now. And very nice session. Once again, I must congratulate all the panelists, and we feel really honored as a magazine being a part of these series, which I find that I have been communicating. Even students of architecture are now gradually coming into this webinar organized by Smart Foundation and SHM, because of the fundamental fact that they are, I think there is something for every professional here to how to go forward. It's a challenge which we all have to collectively take it forward. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Sumit. Just to conclude, my thanks to all my speakers, and my adoration and love to Rajneesh Agarwal ji, who has really fantastically done the job, and you know he's put his heart and soul into it in selecting my friend like Shailendra Sharma ji, Sanjeev Sehgal ji, you know, who with very little time you've been associated with us, you know, just I think 3-4 days back, and that is how synergy comes together and we can make it go. And just to announce you that we have brilliant more webinars to come, and the next on the 12th June is on looking beyond net zero in human settlement, where we have fantastically very good speakers around the globe, and I think hopefully you will enjoy that. And another topic which where participants actually requested us to take it further is on resilience planning in health facility in post-COVID, because that is one thing which is very, very sensitive, how to see the hospitals coming up further, and what is the mindset, what is the various planning norm which needs to be addressed. So these are on 12th, same time, 12th June, Friday. And again on 13th June is for the medical architecture and the planning. That these are the two, because we had to insert the hospital planning in between. Otherwise, we are doing on every Friday. So thank you very much, all of you, and the greatest team of SOCHM, GEMS at the backup, Neeraj ji, Amit ji, and my friend Mr. The person who is doing the IT in such a good manner. Really hats off to all of us put together, wherein we are able to do this. Let's hope for the best. Let's collectively come forward and make our nation, and rightly by Shailendra Sharma ji and Sanjeev Sehgal ji, let's make in India, made in India, and we consume what we make. This is our pledge, promise from architects, that we will not practically get anything imported. We will love to make our industry stronger and stronger and make India strong. Thank you very much, all of you. Great to have all together. And our friend Pankaj Dharkar ji, who is the lifeline of all of us. So thanks a lot to Amit. Thanks to Mr. Goel Saab, our Sandeep Goel ji, and our great friend Dr. Ray from Bhubaneswar. Thank you all. Thank you very much. So let's conclude and have dinner. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.